Gentlemen, not boys and girls. Sorry. Okay. So we thought this session will be much more practical. We have different representatives from different organizations. I'll let them introduce themselves first. We've got a couple of pre-prepared questions, then we'll also hand it over to the audience quite quickly. Because there's many of us, please keep your comments quite short so we have time to get as many comments as possible. So maybe we start from my right then. Bob, you want to introduce yourself properly? Or does everybody already know you?
Thank you very much, Adam. So properly, I am Bob Ochieng. I work for ICANN and I'm based here in Kenya.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Fiona Asonga, the CEO of the Technology Service Providers Association of Kenya, TESPOC, that runs the Kenya Internet Exchange Point.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Banchale Gufu. I work with the Communication Authority of Kenya. Thank you.
You got a microphone? Okay, good. Keniz?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Keniz Agira, Chairman of Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. That basically brings professionals who are
Recording in progress.
In charge of network operations and cybersecurity.
Good afternoon, everyone. Fidelis Muia, working with the Kenya Bankers Association.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with Gufu. If you can explain a little bit more about what the CERT is, CIRT, that I think was introduced by your acting DG this morning. Thank you. And what you do, what your role is, why it's important.
Thank you very much, Adam. KCSFA is Kenya Computer Incident Response Team Coordination Center. It is a multi-agency framework where we have members from different sectors within Kenya. That is from, we have academia. I saw Professor Mayoli here. Kashorda, yeah, okay. So we have from law enforcement. We also have members from Kenya Bankers Association. You can see Mr. Fidelis there. Yeah, so we have also members from the utility service. I've talked about the financial, yeah. So basically, the national KCSFA, the function of the national or the role of national KCSFA is technical coordination and response to cyber incident on 24/7 hours. By collaborating locally, I've talked about the members, and also internationally, regionally. Regionally, we coordinate, we work closely with SATs in East Africa, and then globally, we work with the Afrinic, ICANN, social media service providers. I heard in the morning somebody talk about TikTok and all that. So we collaborate with them closely. Another function of KCSFA is technical coordination and response to cyber incident. This is mainly, we advise our members, the sector SAT, on issues of cyber threat on real time. Then another one is development and implementation of public infrastructure. This is mainly, we lessons the guys. I don't know how I explain it because accreditation, we accredit members, give them lessons. Those entities or organization provide digital signatures. So already we have the one for government, which is for ICTA, which is spearheaded by ICTA, and then also we have for private. So another work is we create awareness and capacity building. As national KCSFA, we have trained over 100 IT, both IT and cybersecurity practitioners in ethical hacking, yeah, and also incident management, like basic skills in, if you want to become a cybersecurity expert, now those guys who are in both in government and also manning the critical information infrastructure. Yeah, so we train them, and currently we have also sponsored this session, to create awareness. Another one is research and development. We do research on issues of cybersecurity. We work closely with academia. I can see Dr. Savile, representative of academia. We work closely with them. Back to you, Adam. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you very much, Gufu, and thank you for sponsoring this. Thank you for sponsoring the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just joking. It's okay, but thank you very much. Okay, maybe we can ask some of the other organizations to also talk about some of the key challenges that they face or their members face, since we have a couple of membership organizations in cybersecurity, and then what are the key things that they're trying to do to solve those challenges. Maybe we start with Fidelis. Is that okay?
Thank you. Key challenges. As a financial sector, we are the most targeted, shall we say, entities within the cyberspace, primarily in two fronts. Of course, people would like to relieve us of your money as we store it. Then we are seeing a lot of threats into our infrastructure, primarily along attacks on the infrastructure itself. There's an emerging trend where now you are seeing a lot of fake apps. So for example, if you go to those app stores, you'll get but unfortunately isn't. Those are the major threats that we can speak of today. We have major other issues besides that. The major challenges we have is awareness. With Kenya being a highly digital society, not everybody has reached the level of cyber awareness we would like. So there are quite a number of, shall we say, not very digital literate consumers out there. So unfortunately, they fall to schemes like social engineering, easily fished, catfished and such. And a lot of them involve losing their money within either mobile money or within their bank accounts. So those are the major threats right now that we have, in addition to the normal cyber threats everybody else suffers.
Thank you. And maybe Keniz, from your perspective, maybe you can also talk a bit more about the kind of members that you have. Is it about 150 or so, I think, active members, and what kind of jobs they do, and the kind of challenges that they face in their work?
Thank you. From Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensic Association, this began way back in 2016, and then it brought together 3 entities. I talk of maybe 3 types of professionals, where the law enforcement guys, normally don't have the police, but the issue was, now it's a cybercrime issue, your phone and all that has been target of some mischief. Then whom do you turn to? A police officer. Does he understand what you're talking about? The answer is no. So that was one big challenge we found out. And wait a minute, things are changing, but then we have the law enforcement guys who would be interested in digital investigation, but they seem not to know so much about it. Then we also saw another group that we target in our membership. We talk of the legal practitioners. Those who are in Kenya, you saw what happened. Basically, technology and law, they don't go together. But here was a case where something happens, a CCTV footage caught somebody doing ABCD, the matter has to be presented to court of law, or maybe it's an email phishing, it has to go to court of law. And then there in the courtroom, the judge is asking, hey, wait a minute, are you speaking Latin? What is this all about and all that? So we found out that, again, the aspect of electronic evidence presentation and even management was lacking and still a challenge. Then we also found out that we have the ICT practitioners. We know them, right from computer scientists to all, call them. But then not everybody had expertise in security. So here comes a case where now, all right, something has happened. Now we need to do some audits and all that. Then, hey, there are some tools, the forensics and all that. So we realized there's another area of people. There are some skills. there are some skills. So we thought, why don't we tie the niche together? So we brought these three entities. It's open for these three entities. And having identified that was the problem, what have we done so far about this? Well, as an organization, we focus majorly on user awareness and the issue of research and innovation. I'll tell you, right now, we have even Mama Mboga down there, the real hustlers, who have these challenges with SIM swap. Whom do they turn to? Most likely they'll come to you as a techie. How do you explain this to them? You need to explain this in simple language. But many times, we normally have what we call the technical terms. You have to explain to some common person this terminology in a simplified manner. I find it's a challenge. So that type of user awareness we do. We try to do so much on online, so social media, and even also the webinars and the so-called the conferences. And even right now, there is one that has been made for purely the students. It's October Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and believe you me, over 150 students from these local universities are already registering as we speak for a hackathon, which will be done live for 24 hours at Safari Park Hotel. The link is there. And this is sponsored by Huawei Communications Authority, where we want to tap into the local talent that we have. Can our students turn these opportunities, turn these challenges into opportunities? And that will happen for 24 hours. Once that is done, they of course get them cash prizes, they go home with, and then they get exposed to you who are here, the potential employers and others. Those are some of the initiatives that are happening. And in addition to that, on the area of research, what we realized in the country, we have knee-jerk research work. This dearth of literature. Basically, what is happening? Somebody asks you, all right, it's M-Pesa, all right, it's ABCD. Whom do you turn to? And again, we are trying to challenge the local professionals. People need to publicize these things. Because do you see the local publications? How often do you see them? So that dearth of literature, we're also trying to challenge the young minds and people we have to make more publication of simple things that happen locally. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you very much. And maybe Fiona, if I can come to you. So you work with, I guess, some of the biggest companies in the country, the telecoms, both local and international. How do you think the leadership of these organizations treats cybersecurity and security and everything as a whole? And what kind of issues do you think the leadership of those organizations are facing?
When it comes to the leadership and their view on cybersecurity, from when we started the industry SAT, because we started an industry SAT before KE SAT was started, as we worked with CA to put in place the KE SAT. And when we began, it is these companies that put and so at the industry SAT, we started off with honeypots to just monitor what was going on. And when we came back to the CEOs and told them what we were seeing and what we needed them to do, they were very supportive. Many of them did not initially have, way back in 2009, they didn't have a staff dedicated for cybersecurity. But since we began engaging them, they began to put in that resource, taking cybersecurity as critical, understanding the impact that it has on their business as a whole, and the impact that it has on their customers. So what we've ended up seeing them do is support the efforts of TESPOC to be able to have all our members get it's basically, there's an annual report we produce that we publish. But prior to that, there is daily, hourly, weekly reports that are shared on cybersecurity incidences. And we've had a platform where our members can log in and see what the issues are. And we've been able to coordinate and work together with our members and law enforcement through the KE SAT to get issues addressed. Our biggest challenge initially and for the longest time was, as industry operators, when we see issues on the networks, then what is the protocol to respond to them? So at one time when there was an issue with one of our security agencies, and we reached out to them, it was very difficult. So we had to go through the KE SAT, go through the minister. It was such a process for State House because it was only the commander in chief who could give instructions. to be able to step in and give the instructions we needed given so that even the service providers would be able to support the institution and to address the security vulnerability that had been identified and that was a threat to our intelligence systems. And so what we have seen happening is there's been a lot of effort by service providers to educate the masses, to reach out to them, to let them know what they should do and how they should go about it. I think the challenge with our society with Kenyans is that Kenyans are very skilled in terms of getting online. We are good at it, we get online, but we don't pay attention to details. So while we have the skill of using this, being in the cyberspace and using it, we are very slow in applying knowledge. So while we know that there are hackers out there who may be phishing, who may be cyber squatting and all these things, we do not have a culture of going through details to check and see, like Fidelis had mentioned, when it's a banking application that it is fake, that a domain is the wrong domain. There's a difference between a .co.ke, a .net, a .com, sometimes even a bank with a .org should raise a red flag. So I think as a society, we have the skill, but we do not apply the knowledge that comes with the skill on taking care of ourselves. We are used to a culture of, you take care of me. You're the service providers. You say it's secure, I'll do anything. But there's a level to which you need to take care of yourself. And so the responsibility falls back on individuals applying the knowledge that is shared. We've supported the banks, especially when they have phishing attacks. And that information is on their websites. There is a lot of warning information, but we don't read. We want it told to us over and over. Yet it's told to us, it is there, but we still go to the wrong domains. We still go to the wrong apps. We still do the things wrongly. Why? Because we're also very quickly looking for a shortcut. If you're looking for a shortcut and you're not reading the fine print, really our cyber attacks are largely from us as the end users, me and you as the end users, attention to details and following the process and what we need to do, trying to find a quick way and just shortcut through something. Thank you.
You mentioned shortcuts. It reminds me that so many government agencies and best practice guides talk about never using shortcodes because you don't know where the shortcode links to, right? You go to bit.ly/something, something, something, and you have no idea where it goes to until you've gone there. And yet I remember like a day after that, it was announced in a certain country, the next day, another agency of that government was issuing text messages to all its citizens or many of its citizens with a short code telling them to go here to find information about COVID or whatever. I think it was legitimate. It did go to a certain place, but then it still is very bad habits among citizens. Oh, we'll just click on any old shortcode and see where it goes. And then you realize something bad has happened. So that's definitely a shortcut as an interesting pun. Okay, Bob, from your perspective, how does ICANN address some of these cybersecurity issues? I guess they also affect you quite significantly, right?
So thanks, Adam. I just want to take one step back and probably pose the question why, the cybersecurity issue is important. Today, we, give or take, we have 5-point-something billion people online. But if you look at it differently, we also have more than 2.5 or 2.7 billion people offline. There are a range of issues why those who are online to a certain extent, potentially not fully online, or you are utilizing or consuming certain things, but not everything that you could consume. There could also be a range of issues why, those who are offline, potentially not because they are not able to, but because of, intentional decisions. And one of them is security. Now, and security is very tied or very close to, or goes hand in hand with trust, which is very subjective. If I were to pause for the room and ask, how many of us trust Facebook, and ask you to raise up your hands, How many trust Facebook? How many trust your government? How many of you trust your government? So apart from Gufu, who must have a particular answer for that question? But you'll agree with me that that question potentially is not complete. Why? Because you could be asking, so trust my government to do what? Or trust Facebook to do? If I put it differently and asked you, how many of you trust Facebook to help you connect with your friends? I'll get a better answer, isn't it? How many of you trust the government to collect your taxes from you? So trust is subjective. So you need context, isn't it? Now, that is the same thing with going online. I want to go into that space, or I'll only consume whatever is available online, depending on how much I can trust it. So how do I build that trust? And we have to recognize that, security online is, as Adam will confirm, there's no silver bullet. There is nothing that, say, Huawei or Facebook or ICANN can do, and then we announce tomorrow that, now we have a secure cyberspace. Everyone has a role to play in their respective, missions, for example. So from an ICANN perspective, of course, ICANN will look at it from the names and numbers perspective. To what extent are our DNS infrastructure secure? In the last panel, we heard about how many domain names, for example, in Kenya, oranda.ke are signed. Now, if you extrapolate that globally, what numbers are we looking at? So if someone is looking at the security of names as a pointer to how much they can trust, domain names, then there are things that they will not consume online that are associated with the domain names. So I do believe that, every stakeholder, every organization or player have got very specific roles or contributions that they need to make so that holistically we could contribute to a more secure, space. And ICANN is playing that role that is trying to ensure that more and more of our domain names, especially registries in Africa, are DNSX signed. That is going to be very critical for us in the next few years in a project that will be launched very soon to specifically, address that.
Thank you, Bob. It reminds me of another story that a few weeks ago I was trying to help somebody apply for a visa for South Africa. You search for online South African visa, at least 30 different companies come up, none of which can offer you legitimate South African visas. And actually, I think you can't even find the legitimate site through a Google search. You have to go through the South African, Ministry of Immigration, and then you find the subpage to a page that does offer you, in theory, an official online visa, but actually that doesn't work. Once you call the embassy or the consulate in Nairobi, they say, no, you have to come and do the old-fashioned paper approach. So either you have applied for a visa that's not correct and wasted money, or you've submitted an application through a system that doesn't work. And then eventually you still have to come back and fill in papers. So I think the visa sites are very interesting because it's very hard to work out what's legitimate and what's not, because visa services are often outsourced. So it's quite interesting. I think I'm a relatively intelligent person about online safety, but it's still so easy to make mistakes. I think it's not just some of the easy scams. It's some of it's really, really cunning. I'm sure I now have to be careful what apps I've got on my phone from my Kenyan banks. That's a bit worrying, actually. Okay, and now to Mabwa. Maybe you can talk a bit more about how you deal with some of these practical day-to-day issues. I think we've just established that users are sometimes some of the key problems. How does that work from an employee perspective?
Well, for Huawei is quite different, and it's really, really important because you can imagine Huawei not only manufactures the devices that you use, it also builds the network infrastructure. So I just want to understand how many people would use a network whereby they know that there's nothing that is secure, like there's not that confidentiality. I don't know, even our customers, just consider you are selling a product or a solution, and the customers have no guarantee that the equipment is safe or secure. The network you're building, remember we're talking about the future, and the risks are growing as we go forward, right? Well, we didn't have 4G. Now this is very fast to access anything. Apps are coming, as I said, everything is going online. There's somebody behind there who has built that network infrastructure. So try to imagine the security of that network is compromised. I don't know if any organization or any of our customers would be using that equipment. Now, just imagine also in a situation whereby there are changes that have to be done to upgrade. I think all organizations have do this all the time. Like you have to upgrade, there are vulnerabilities which have been exposed elsewhere. As a result, you have to develop a solution and patch. Who is doing this? There are people, right? We have employees who are actually running the operations. Now, what guarantee do you have that these people consider or have cybersecurity awareness to that level that runs the business? Basically, what I'm trying to say, in Huawei, cybersecurity is a company's top agenda, and it's actually led from the CEO all the way and broken down into different regions, complying with the laws and regulations of those particular regions. And it has to be, we actually do the awareness all the way to the lowest level, to the engineer level, because are the people who, at the end of the day, we normally call them layer 8. No, we could have all these policies, structures, compliance, but at the end of the day, if my engineer is not really keen on why he needs to ensure that the safety of that account or the access he has or the data is handling for our customers is that sensitive, then we still have a weakness. So what we do a lot, we do a lot of that training, awareness, and just like any other technical institution, we have exams that actually change from time to time because the risks are evolving. Networks have changed. What we have today is not what we saw like 10 years ago. And what we'll see maybe in the next 5-10 years would be totally different. Maybe more attack, more sophisticated attack. We always call them the bad guys. The bad guys actually, they're always like a step ahead, right? And in most cases, we find that most manufacturers or these giant corporations will always try to present their equipments for sort of what you call ethical hacking. And should we find those kind of loopholes, Apache is developed very good. It's actually one of the good ways to ensure that your system is hack-proof. And because I'm in operations, we do a lot of changes. In Kenya, we have a lot of customers. And the biggest risk that I've seen is basically the turnover. I think you've seen this in the tech space. We have guys moving from this organization to the other, from this to the other. It's quite high at times. And you have to do that awareness on how you consider cybersecurity, just to ensure that the operations, the access that they have, they know how sensitive it is and how crucial it is for the business. This just reminds me in another forum where I've had guys complaining that probably the CX level or management, cybersecurity is not really a key item. They consider it like a secondary, because for you also to build that firewall, for you to build that strength, you might need some budget, and guys have to go and explain why we need this awareness of the top management. I think as time goes by, if you don't consider that as a key docket running your organization, then it's just a matter of time. You might be wiped out. So in a way, that is very important, very key, looking at two angles. From the manufacture of the equipment, we always talk about secure by design. Cybersecurity is inserted at that particular point. Security from the word go. By the time they're designing, the time they're manufacturing the product, the time they're looking at the solution. At this point, you're not looking just at the device itself. Look also at the solution. Look at the service part, the equipment, and how to trust, how to ensure that everything is covered end to end. And then the second part is also you're looking at the user level, the people, to ensure that we don't have any loophole, we don't drop a ball, because I just believe one incident is enough actually to throw the whole thing into chaos.
Okay. Thanks, Mabo. I want to take a page on the very quick survey. How many people access their, I guess, work or organization email on their phone? Okay, almost everyone. How many of you can take a screenshot of whatever is in the email and then share that on WhatsApp? Still, it seems only about half of people. So how many people, when you open your email on your phone, your work email on your phone, are restricted from taking a screenshot or from forwarding? Good to see a foreign government has got some good protocols. But only about 5 other people put their hands up. I should put my hand up as good, Mabwa. But you know, this is such simple things. You know, I know we complain about government employees having Gmail accounts, but actually it doesn't really make much difference. If you're still using a .ke or any other account, but you access it through a normal app on your phone and you can take screenshots, then there's still no security whatsoever. Until you've got a what's called a walled garden app or something in your phone where you are having your email controlled and monitored by your organization legitimately and with your permission, but under your contract, you can't take screenshots, you can write, restrict, and can't forward emails, that kind of stuff. It's very, very important, but it's funny that this is still basic stuff is still not being implemented to some extent. Certainly with Huawei side, I think as Maverick can say, these are very basic issues that we still face. Okay, we haven't got a lot of time, but I'll ask everyone just to think of their kind of closing comment as I ask one question, and then we'll take a few questions from the audience if we can, which is looking to the future. What do you think is the biggest issue in the next, say, 12 to 24 months that you think you'll face or your organization will face? And then we can start thinking about that, and we'll see if there's a few questions from the floor. Let's see who we start with. Do we start with Fiona first? And she's itching to go.
I think one of the biggest challenges or issues that we're likely to face in the next 12 to 24 months, that has been a persistent issue that we are still trying to resolve, is matters coordination across various sectors on issues cybersecurity. Even within our legal setup, we seem to have a conflict, and that creates a lot of confusion, especially to the public, on who to go to for what. So we've got the KESAT, that under which ICT operators, domain registrars, everyone doing ICT is under, and therefore we need to be coordinating under the KESAT with other government institutions. Then somehow when we were writing our cybersecurity law, we goofed and we created another entity that is also coordinating cybersecurity issues. Yes, we needed that coordination, but we needed that coordination with the KESAT because we're already under the KESAT. So now this other entity is then also, as per the law, trying to do the same things the KESAT is doing, very nicely organized and sponsored and everything, but that creates a conflict. So we need to actually come back and look at our cybersecurity law and see then if we can change it, how do we coordinate? For now, we are managing the coordination between the Cybersecurity Coordination Committee and the KESAT, and KESAT has been very accommodative. And all of them being government institutions, we are hoping that they can manage and coordinate at that level. Then it comes to now the service providers, and we are seeing ourselves, some of the service providers are gazetted by that institutions, others are left out. When we go to our regulator who's managing the KESAT, they're not able to explain how that is happening and what the expectations of the gazettement are not uniform across the board. So coordination is going to be our biggest issue moving forward, because if we can coordinate well, we will be able to address issues within our cyberspace appropriately. If we don't, then we are going to find ourselves in situations where some service providers who are not gazetted are then stuck with the CA, and those that are gazetted seem to be being taken to a higher level. So the playing field is now not being kept the same for everyone who has infrastructure or networks and needs support from government on cybersecurity.
Thank you very much, Fiona. And I think you have a very important point. And certainly coordination needs to be a single point of coordination if we want to respond rapidly. And I think speed is of the essence. Okay, Gufu, what do you think for the next 12 to 24 months?
Thank you very much. I think I'm that beautiful girl. Everybody is talking about the KESAT. So I think, maybe if I can mention, I think they have talked a lot about collaboration challenges and all that. Bob talked about trust. Cybersecurity is not a standalone function. Gone are the days when you say, oh, my house is very secure, I have a very good, the policeman is seated there and all that. Now we're in digital era where a hacker can have just a laptop and an internet connection somewhere because of the borderless nature of the internet. they can come to your doorstep. Okay, so it's a very critical thing, and technology is dynamic. Every day, new things come in, and new things come. So you have to update the software, upgrade your hardware. So cybersecurity solutions are not very cheap as well, because it's not, you cannot just use one cybersecurity solution to like take care of all the other like network and all that, because of the commercial, maybe just call it commercial. People keep on producing specific software for specific solution within the network or within in the area of cybersecurity. So there is no like one thing which does everything. So we need to trust each other. Trust is very important. Like right now, what KSAT is doing, we are collaborating with our teams here or over here. How many people know that cybersecurity, this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month? Awesome, I'm impressed. So as an authority through National KSAT, we are working with all the team over here. You know, we've organized for conference, we've given chance to young ones, you know, to learn about those people who want to venture in cybersecurity, to learn basic skills. And we also give them chance, you know, like there is an hackathon which is organized also by KCSFA here. So I'm sure you've seen the young ones, the younger, you know, vibrant guys out there. You must have seen those requests. And we're giving good money, of course, through our team here. We're working, and also others who are not in this panel. So we're really encouraging the young guys so that at least they get those skills, the certificates, and also we're giving the monetary. Apart from that, we are also sponsoring them to our conference, which is taking place from 17th to 19th. So that we recognize, they interact. So basically, in terms of capacity building, we are doing a lot. But cybersecurity, we must work together because it's not a standalone function. To contact us, is it like, are you still coming around, or I'm supposed to finish? All right. So to contact us, you go to www.ksat.go.ke. You can report any incidents, because Fidelis talked about a lot of incidents, and also there is also the issue of the visa. I also encourage you to adopt .ke for easy resolution of cybersecurity related issues, because if you adopt .ke and your e-commerce, like for example, an e-commerce, you have an e-commerce platform, once it is attacked or something, because vulnerabilities are there. We just spoke about you have to update, but just one day you forgot to update, and then the guys come into your network. So at least if you're working with Keniz here, it will be resolved very fast. I'm not saying, I can see Bob is looking at me. I'm not saying don't. Charity begins at home. That's all what I say. So please, we encourage you to adopt .ke. Thank you.
And you have an app too, right?
Yes, we do have
How many people know about the third app?
Yeah. How many?
Like, yeah. Many people.
Yeah. So you can also use that app to report to us. Thank you very much.
Okay, we need to work on awareness raising about the app as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's a legitimate app.
It's legitimate app. It's from National KSAT.
Okay, so there we are. When you know to
the
app, look for the author. Don't get fooled into reporting badly. Okay, let's go back over this side. We'll come back to Bob later. Back to Fidelis. What do you see then as the biggest new issues coming up in the next 12 to 24 months?
It's not exactly new. It's some phenomenon that we've discovered within the industry. Cybersecurity threat landscape is dynamic. It is growing day by day. The more we plug the holes, the more these fraudsters discover new holes. There is a very interesting dynamic in Kenya. We have a very, very highly technically literate, digitally literate youth that are unemployed. And so they fall prey to quite a lot of these shall we say, gray or black hat criminals. And unfortunately, we try to bring them down, and it's a constant race. We have to keep doing that. The next thing I'm looking at is because of the same digitization that we have in the industry, constant awareness is going to be a challenge. The security that we train people to do, unfortunately, Kenyans are creatures of habit. You train them, they'll remember it for 3-4 days. After a week, they forget. So you have to keep training, and it's not cheap. Part of this training is very, very expensive, as is the losses. So we have to do that. Somebody mentioned about turnover of staff. Our industry has a major challenge, because the moment you train somebody from university and they become very good IT security professionals, they get poached by the next guy. So our decision is, we have two decisions to make. Do I poach or do I train? Because if I train, then I know I'm going to train and somebody will poach. So should I save myself the hassle and just poach as well? But if we all poach, who will train? So we have those challenges going into the future. We still need to do it. Somebody else mentioned an opportunity. The opportunity I see is for partnerships. Nobody can solve this problem by themselves. Keniz illustrated the issue we have with criminals. I can arrest a criminal from my premises in a bank, but I will need the cybersecurity professional to provide the evidence in a way that it can be presented in court. The speed with which we move to respond to incidences requires that the SAT be alert, be aware, and be ready to respond to an incident. The way we protect the evidence ensures that if we prosecute, the chances of winning that prosecution is going to be high. The legal profession needs to understand the digital evidence to be able to provide it in a way that is not opaque, to use a certain term, so that the judge can clearly see how the crime was committed to be able to then make a judgment. All that you can see looks at developing ways of all of us working together to be ensure that we actually succeed in cybersecurity. So that is what I would say, and that would be my closing comments.
Thank you very much. Keniz?
Personally, I see opportunities and I also see challenges, but I rather measure the opportunities. Somebody once said it's going to get louder and messier. What am I saying? As we go into the future, one thing we do expect, the attack vectors, they are going to increase. That's number one. The more they are sophisticated, the more we have the smart gadgets, the more we have smart attacks, and the list goes on and on and on. Number two, what I also see from the attacks, I also see another aspect of adaptation. You know, will become a key challenge to most of these things. What do I mean? For instance, if right now we're talking about internet here or splinternet, before you know it, the list goes on and on and on. But then the cost of training, how much does a cybersecurity cost? How much does it cost for a simple training? You know the cost? It's not cheap. But then again, if you don't train, what happens? You are left very. So what happens? So you see the level as we go to the future. Of course, the cost as element is still prohibitive, but yet we need to catch up and do most of these things. The other thing I also see, which will still prove to be a challenge, Fiona, the other side mentioned the issue of coordination, but I also see a key challenge between law and technology, mostly in the country. Now we have so many laws, right? But then at what pace are we going to continue legislating? Right now, we just have Computer Misuse and Cyber Crimes Act. But if I have somebody in the room, just tell me what it simply means. Oh, I know that and that. Then that is all, right? Then we have the data protection. So this is also going to be a key challenge whereby the data laws are there and the technological changes are coming, will never be there. But it's also an opportunity itself. I like what Dr. I think Kariuki, if I'm not wrong, mentioned while he was in the panel, where he said, you know what? The more the problems come, the more they become an industry in themselves. So to me, I see both opportunities and I see both what challenges. So it all depends where you want to start at the end of the day.
Thank you very much. Mabwa?
Someone said that we can't stop change. Change is the only thing that will last forever. So we're having more solutions that I think we're all enjoying today, the technology that we have. The easiness of paying through mobile money, using your card. I can't remember the last time I had cash, actually. I think it's either the card or mobile money. But what does that mean? Also, the risk is higher than before, right? So as from my point of view, pushing out solutions that are now the next generation means that we're going to have also the risk increase, like more business are going to the cloud, right? And people will see the benefit of having maybe the business on cloud. It might be cheaper, might be safer. As long as you look at the loopholes, make sure you have a robust kind of a system whereby if one is hacked, you're able to still maintain your business. Now, you can imagine in that situation whereby you've gone online, your payments are online, and everything is online. Something is actually brought down in the next few months. It means you'll be completely out, right? We've seen more government services going online. I want to believe in the next 10 years, even more and more business will be online. But that means also a bigger risk. So I think that awareness, partnership, and awareness is not a one-off thing. Like we say, we are training. These things are evolving. They're changing from time to time. So that awareness journey has to be kept rolling. It has to be done routinely. We have guys coming in from colleges, universities. They have to take up the mantle. The good thing is most of them are tech savvy. Back in the day, I think guys who are doing computer-related courses were few. But nowadays, even if you're not doing it, I think it's a knowledge, it's a mandatory knowledge that most, no matter the course you're doing, you should be possessing because you're going into a technological world. Things are becoming more complex. Not only cloud, as in everything you do is actually related to cloud. So we'll have more attacks, but that should not hinder the progress as technology is concerned.
Thanks, Mabwa. And then Bob, what do you see? There's any new issues coming up in the next year or two?
No, so I want to agree with Gufu. She was not very sure I would. Really, because the issues that we are discussing or the risks thereof of going online, while you act locally, if it is, as they normally say, the intention is only known after the act. So, for example, if you register a domain name for malicious purpose, we can only tell after you have actually registered the domain name, not when you're doing it. So when you're actively committing a crime, we might not really know what your intention is. Now, the challenge is that the internet is borderless, but then the mechanism that we have in place to address challenges actually belong to jurisdictions. So DCI, for example, can only chase you within our borders, beyond which they will need different kind of infrastructure or help for them to go across the border. While, criminal does not really, have any borders. You can sit here and, cause havoc in Uganda or South Africa. Yet the law enforcement infrastructure will have to respect borders and the same. So it is borderless platform. Hence the real need on awareness on the security around it, because addressing the issues once they've been done has jurisdiction implications. Hence the pace at which you can move. So yes, in that perspective, it makes much more sense to have a .ke domain name if you're in Kenya, or a .rw if you're in Rwanda, because probably you are able to be sorted within your jurisdiction. .ke will be subject to the .ke jurisdiction. .rw will subscribe to the government of Rwanda. So from addressing criminality, you are full jurisdiction as opposed to other domain names. So all those are important things to keep in mind. So I think in the interest of time, Adam, I will stop there. Thank you very much, Bob.
So I don't know if we have any more time left for questions. Anyone can advise if we're okay with time. I see there are some questions, so I guess we can take a question whilst we wait and see if there's enough time for questions.
There was a comment online. Yeah. Not someone was online who was trying to speak. So probably if that is ready, can also come up. But yeah, proceed.
Okay, yes. Okay, and then I see two comments, two questions, one over here, one over here. Do we have any other microphone? Or there's someone coming? Okay, maybe over here, this gentleman first, and then we can come over to this gentleman. Please keep your question as brief as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is directed towards the Keniz, people coming from Keniz. It's a good venture.
There's nobody from Keniz on the panel.
Okay, he was supporting.
ICANN.
He was supporting ICANN. Okay, ICANN was saying that
You can go to ICANN. It's okay.
it was important that we register the .ke domain, and I think that he was actually voting for .ke. So my question is basically, I think he'll be able to answer it in his position, in that it's important to promote domain registration. But as somebody said in the morning, the worst thing that you'll experience in this country is to open the websites of government ministries to find any information. So in spite of just even registering the domain, will it not be also a big thing actually to even advise these people who register these domains, especially the government agencies, that is important to update those websites and to put them update so that when somebody is seeking information, they'll be getting the latest information than just opening our website and leaving it dormant. Thank you.
Okay, and then over here, one more question, and Bob can prepare his answer whilst we hear the second question. The second question in the yellow shirt.
Thank you. Okay, Davis Alaka, Elim Holdings. Mine is a comment to the forum that just as you know, in some countries like the US, you have the mining industry, and where majority of the people get employed, they have a decent job. In Kenya and in East Africa, we think the digital economy is going to be that industry where majority of the youths are going to have decent jobs and have the Kenyan or the East African dream. And therefore, the conversations we have here, we are talking about a lack of awareness and lack of knowledge about security, about the value of the digital economy, etc. I think we need to put a lot more effort. How do we use the millions of youth into cyber businesses, into cyber economy, and even in this case, into cyber security? Can we challenge ourselves and not look at the millions of youths as maybe problems to be solved, but as opportunities that can be mined, quote unquote, and East Africa can be that superpower in the digital economy space. In fact, I'm very happy that we now have a Ministry of ICT and Digital Economy. So let us put our minds together and make sure that we can get the Kenyan middle economy being a digital economy. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Davis. Bob, do you want to answer the other question?
So I think Gufu will help me on this, but I would just want to highlight that a domain name and the content that it potentially hosts after it's registered are two different things. So you register domain name, but then when you choose to host content on it, we get out of the picture. Actually, any registry gets out of the picture. It becomes a third party. So it becomes probably what that particular entity chooses to do with their domain name. Which then brings to the question whether it's then legal or not. But the domain name itself, is not synonymous with the content that is hosted on it. In terms of government websites being up to date, I think the closest we have to government is Gufu.
Thank you very much for that question. You're who? Sorry? Oh, okay. Ambito. All right. So that's a very good question, by the way. And the ICT authority are the guys who are in charge of government infrastructure, all the ICT function. So we work closely with them. They are a member of our SAT. They are our sector SAT for government. I'll pass across to them. and hoping that they're going to implement. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. The question, Fidelis, you want to add something? Oh, one more question. Oh, okay, fine. Okay. One more question, then I get to be.
Not a question, actually. I wanted to respond to his question. I don't know whether.
This was a comment.
Oh, okay. You could probably just address it. It seemed a question to me. He made it a comment, but it's a question. And it's a very valid comment and question as well, because with every challenge, like mentioned by my good colleague here, you should see an opportunity. And we actually do see an opportunity. According to some studies, we have about 10,000 jobs opportunities in cyberspace within the next 5 years. The question is, how do we fill these jobs? With who do we fill these jobs? We need to develop the capacity, we need to develop the skills, and the youth who are coming from university need then to be exposed to these jobs. So the opportunity we are grabbing is that we have formed quite a number of partnerships. I can name a few. I see my good friend Professor is here. Just last week, we were starting a mentorship together with Strathmore University. Stanchart launched Women in Cyber, where they are going to mentor women to go into cybersecurity. The unfortunate belief is most people believe that cybersecurity is about cloak and dagger stuff and hacking and reverse engineering. But there are a lot of jobs in cybersecurity. You can be a security manager, you can be incident response, you can be a SOC manager, you can be a lot of things within cybersecurity. And so what we are trying to do is expose these young, intelligent Kenyans into opportunities in cybersecurity by, number one, telling them the career paths that are different within cybersecurity, not necessarily the hacking. Number two, mentoring them so that they are ready for jobs and they can actually relate their skills, develop themselves into cybersecurity professionals, and we keep them away from the dark side. So you are right in that, yes, we should see an opportunity. We have seen an opportunity. We are partnering with academia to make sure that the curriculum is relevant to the industry needs. We've just got a partnership with Seriano and USIU, where we actually taking university graduates from all over Kenya's universities and training them into cybersecurity and then arranging internships with banks and financial institutions. And that hopefully will develop a pipeline of cybersecurity professionals. Remember, I was telling you about poaching and training. So that way is one way we can actually develop the capacity to tap into the 10,000 jobs. And we hope to scale that as we go. So yes, thank you very much for raising that.
Okay, is there one quick question? Okay, go quickly, then we'll have a closing comment I think from Gufu, then maybe we'll better end. Thank you.
Oh, okay, I just want to ask, are there government standards? Because, you know, basically, a lot of things are going on the Internet of Things, and everybody is jumping on the internet. Are there basic standards, you know, and let's say those enforcements, you know, with those, you know, with coming on the internet and standards with, like you said, applications, how people use these applications and how these applications are developed. Are there standards, programs like that, you know, that will continuously, you know, enforce security on, because once those are compromised, once those devices are compromised, automatically it will get to the users. So are there standards by the government of Kenya to actually monitor and you know, coordinate this?
Thank you very much for that question. We have Kenya Bureau of Standard who are working on different standards that relates to cybersecurity. Maybe if you don't mind, you can look up in their website. Yeah, basically. And they are also certifying body for ISMS 27001. So basically that could, because your question is geared towards the consumers in terms of using the standards and all that. I'm not like talking about ISO, you implement ISO, but those are just few standards which are there, out there. Thank you.
Probably just to help you, when the end user is having an incident on their devices, the KESAT, which is not saying KESAT, have got a number that you can call and report an issue. So once you report to KESAT, then they have got the best practices and standards that we have agreed with as industry that they run you through. And we normally encourage the network operators, the people who give you the connectivity services, to also share with you information to bring you up to speed on best practices within industry on dealing with some of these issues. But there are systems in Kenya that facilitate an end user reporting on an issue, and they'll get assistance.
Yeah, in addition to that, you can, the hotline is 0703 042 700. I don't know. Somebody is telling me. Put 254 in case you have any issues. For right now, okay. So put 254. And also you can go to our website, and also you can use the email incident@kesat, ke-crt.go.ke. Feel free. We actually work, I don't know whether you're from Nigeria or we work closely with Nigerian SAT. They are one of our collaborating partners through FAST. Thank you.
Maybe to throw a line.
Yeah, okay.
Just on the same on this issue, truth be told, we can never legislate enough. As a country right now, we are doing well. We are so much better. Now we have cyber computer misuse, cyber crimes act, data protection law. We recently have cybersecurity strategy that is already out. So we are somewhere. But again, there are other areas where now us, the stakeholders, again, now need to come up strongly. For instance, when you talk on now standard operating procedures about maybe electronic evidence management, maybe cybersecurity and all that, where do you get them? It's basically, it has to come from the industry, and then from the industry, it comes up, way up. So I think it's a challenge, again, we throw to ourselves. Yes, we could be having some things, but then there's still much to be done. Go to Kenya Bureau of Standards. They have technical working